Hello, YouTube gun people. I wanted to go through some issues about concealed carry, self-protection firearms. What do you need? What do you don't need? I see a lot of videos, people talking about this subject. You know, and you would think you need a friggin' MG42 or a Browning 50 caliber stuck in your underpants to be able to properly defend yourself. Let me be clear about a few things. One, you need one firearm. Two, you need to become proficient with it. That means you need to practice with it. You need to spend time at the range with it, and not just shooting at paper targets at 25 yards or 7 yards or 50 yards, whatever. You need to practice drawing that firearm from a holster mounted on your hip or a pocket holster, whatever kind of holster you use that works for you and is comfortable, and use that extensively. If you're unwilling to do it, don't bother. Get yourself a can of pepper spray, okay? The fact of the matter is, thank God, very, very few people are ever involved in a gunfight. Thank God. Those principles of getting really proficient, getting training, drawing in a real-world situation like from a holster. If you've never drawn from a holster, I don't think you have any business carrying concealed. Because let me tell you what, go to an IDPA competition and draw from a holster, and you'll see what the differences are. You need to make a reasonable choice for your firearm. You need to have something that isn't too heavy, isn't too bulky, and if you're interested in carrying, you can carry it, okay? Don't get caught up also in the complete bullshit hype about caliber choice. Oh my God, get a caliber that works for you and just ignore everybody else's crap. I mean, seriously, you think you need a 50 cal to properly defend yourself, and then you need a 30 magazines stuck all over yourself and 50 tactical flashlights and this knife and that knife. That's all bullshit. Seriously, get a caliber that works. Get a handgun that's the right size for you and for what you're wearing. Okay. Unless you're willing to dress around a handgun. Now, a handgun on your hip is not going to be totally comfortable, but as Clint Smith says, a handgun and holster is supposed to be comforting, not comfortable. You have to kind of get used to it being there. You need to wear it. But again, don't do any of this if you don't have the training, if you're not willing to get the training, if you're not willing to invest the time and the money it takes to become proficient with your weapon. And you're unwilling to develop the skills. If you go to your local gun shop, you buy your fancy handgun that you like, and you say, I'm the man, I'm ready to go, you're so out to lunch, it's not even funny. I sound aggravated, don't I? I do, because the YouTube gun community lately is just so full of shit. It's unbelievable. But anyway. Here's some choices that I think are reasonable, okay, in terms of lightweight. And I'm not going to give you the statistics on all these handguns. You can actually Google it. The first one you might want to Google is a Glock 26. These are all been safety checked. There's no magazine in here. There's nothing in the chamber. Point in a safe direction, pull the trigger, hammer down. This weapon's cleared. Okay, it's already cleared off camera. And by the way, I think if you store loaded guns in the house, you're asking for trouble, especially if you have little kids. Be careful what you're doing. Be careful what you're doing. You're responsible. Glock 26, fantastic, fantastic. It's small, so here's my hand, and you can see that this thing is pretty much about the size of my hand. I'm almost 6 feet tall, so I have large hands, but that you can see it's relatively compact. 10+1 in the magazine. Plenty of firepower. This does get carried a lot. It's got some holster wear. You need to invest in some good quality holsters if you're going to do this, and I'll get to that in a minute. Glock 26, you can also get a Glock 27. It's basically the same firearm chambered in a 40 caliber. This is 9mm. Glock 26 is 9mm. It's plenty of firepower to defend yourself, and 10+1 is plenty of firepower to defend yourself. I would argue that the only reason to carry a second magazine, and it's not a fucking clip, it's a magazine, to carry a second magazine is in the case of a failure. Many failures with a semi-auto firearm could be taken care of simply by dropping the magazine, inserting a new one, racking the slide, and going again. Okay, that's the only reason. Do you need it to reload because you're going to be in a prolonged gunfight? No. Anybody that tells you that that's the case is completely full of crap, and they ought to get down to the mall because they're going to be late for their ninja job. I mean, seriously. There's no, show me one documented case where somebody's actually had a reload in a self-defense situation. Really, get over it. Really, Glock 26, it's lightweight. You have to learn how to shoot it. It's a compact firearm, okay? If you're going to carry a gun for self-defense, leave everything in its stock. Leave everything in its stock. Don't be mucking with the trigger. Don't be mucking with anything else. Leave it alone and just learn how to shoot it as is. Your another choice, a really good choice, would be this SIG P239. Let's clear this. There is a magazine in here. I happen to know it's empty. We push the magazine release. Magazine comes out. It was empty. Now there's no magazine in there. We rack the slide. We check the chamber. Nothing in the chamber. You don't have to pull the trigger on these. You can actually use the decocker here. You can decock this, and you see the hammer goes down. This gun is now safe and cleared. SIG P239, excellent handgun. This is chambered, actually in 40 caliber. You can get this in 9mm. You can get this in 40. You can get it in 357 SIG. In my mind, 357 SIG is completely useless round. I don't see the need for it. I really don't. I don't see the niche it fills, but a lot of people like them, so good for them. This firearm is very nice, slightly larger and heavier than the Glock 26, but also a great choice. Highly reliable. This is not striker fired, it's hammer fired. This is double action, so I'm just pulling the trigger now. That will fire, okay? But if this is racked, so that's double action mode. Now with the hammer back, it's in single action mode. You don't want to carry it like this, right? So single action mode, there's more travel on the trigger, about the same, but it's very light to set it off. You want to carry this. It's not a striker fired weapon. With the hammer down, there's no safety on this weapon other than what's between your ears and your finger being out of the trigger guard, okay? And so you can draw this. It's got a very long double action pull, which is kind of a way of safely executing that, and you can press that trigger and fire it. 40 caliber. They're pretty big though, right? Well, let's do a side. This thing's bigger than my hand, right? So you can imagine now that's going to be, you're going to notice that on you. There's no question about it. But it's doable. You can definitely carry it. Now, many times you can't carry a weapon that's as large as the 239. Now, other people carry other guns. They'll carry Glock 22s, Glock 19, whatever. Again, what works for you. I'm just telling you that for me, and I shoot a lot. For me, you have to get something that's practical and something that if you're going to carry and you really want to carry a lot, you got to get something that you can carry a lot. Okay, this is a no-brainer. Sometimes those bigger guns don't work well. They're too big. They're too cumbersome. They won't work with the clothes that you need to wear. Okay, you might have an occasion where you have to wear clothes that are not very amenable to concealed carry. Again, these are all decisions you have to think about. How about a really small mouse gun, a pocket gun? This is a C-Camp, LS C-Camp right here. Let's see if you can see that. LWS 32. Okay, this happens to be the California edition because I live in Massachusetts. But this is a great little firearm. There's no magazine in here. There's nothing in the chamber. It's got a magazine disconnect in it, so I cannot pull the trigger with no magazine in it. This weapon, however, is safe. This is tiny. Okay, 32 caliber. Oh, that's not powerful enough, dude. What if somebody's on crack? This is a last resort. Let me tell you something else. Okay, concealed carry is an absolute last resort. Okay? Don't think you're going to go to the mall and save the world, or don't think you're going to go down to the local 7-Eleven and save the world. It is a last resort to protect you and yours, not to become a vigilante or your local town hero. Okay? You don't think a 32 is enough? Well, lots of police used to carry a 32. Seemed to work pretty well back then. By the way, for murders and things like that, illegal activity, more people are killed with smaller caliber handguns than anything else. So it's not, your Browning 50 caliber that people are shooting each other with down in nasty areas of the city that are just, undergoing the scourge of drug trade and illegal activity. This 32 is, and remember, your confrontation, your armed conflict is going to be happening up close and personal. There's no sights on this firearm. You don't need them. You don't need sights on a personal defense weapon. By the way, if you have sights and you think you're going to line up and pop somebody at 25 yards, you know what you should be lining up? You should figure out whether or not you look good in an orange jumpsuit, because you're going to jail. Okay? You cannot convince a jury that you couldn't avoid that situation if somebody's far away from you. Most police activities, New York City Police Department, they have a pretty big police department. I think they know what they're doing. After shooting debriefings, I think something like 90% of the time there was no recollection of ever using a sight picture whatsoever. None didn't use a sight picture. Same for the military, using handguns in close combat. You don't need it. This is a mouse gun. It's an eye socket gun. You get into an armed conflict, you keep that person away from you, and you put this gun on him, you pull the trigger. Okay? You put it underneath somebody's chin. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is not a joke. You're going to be up close and personal. Don't believe these so-called education channels that want to tell you that you need, some rifle that they've actually never even shot to defend your home. Okay? And a rifle for the home is stupid. You're not going to use a rifle in your house. Okay? It's going to go through everything and kill people in the next room. Let me tell you something else. A shotgun up close, this idea that you don't even need to aim it. I saw a video of a guy that claims to be a weapons educator saying, oh yeah, shotgun, you don't even need to aim. You know what, dude? Get your shotgun, go to the range and prove that to me. I want to see you at real life distances tell me that you can't aim with a shotgun, because I know I own a lot of shotguns. I shoot a lot of shotguns. I shoot shotguns competitively, and I can tell you at home defense distances the pattern's about that big. Tops, sometimes tighter. And by the way, it goes through wallboard like crazy, so it will penetrate. Absolutely. Slug, different story. I'm talking about buckshot. It's tight. Okay? Don't believe the hype. These are concealed carry choices, right? The nice thing about a mouse gun is you can always have it on you if you wish. You get yourself a nice holster. This happens to be a shark skin holster made by Matt Delfatti. Delfatti Holsters. This is one of the best makers in the world. The best makers are probably Delfatti, Gary Bromlin, and Milt Sparks. There's lots of others. Those are three biggies. This is shark skin. It's really nice. Your firearm goes in there. This thing goes in your pocket, your front pocket. I'm right-handed, front right pocket. You can also put it in your back pocket. It's not as good, particularly with jeans. It could stick out a little bit. And remember, concealed means concealed. It doesn't mean kind of concealed. If this thing is printing, in other words, if your shirt is on this and the outline of the gun is apparent, you can get arrested. Oh, yes, you can get arrested. Okay? It's pretty easy. You just slip your hand in your pocket, you grab the firearm, you can pull it out, and you can point it. Okay? Notice where my trigger finger is. Out of the trigger. There's out of the trigger guard. Always, unless you're ready, you're on target. Okay? Always. This gun should be basically either in the holster. Okay? If you draw it, you're going to be ready to fire. It should be in a low ready position. Yeah, finger off the trigger. If you've now identified a target, you can now point this at the target. Doesn't mean you need to kill it. It just means that you're ready to. Or once you're sure of your shot, and this all happens in a microsecond. And actually, what's beyond it too? Because what if your little kid's behind it? Finger on the trigger, execute the shot. Okay. It shouldn't be hanging down here, you know, waving it around like, hey man, what's going on? Look, I got a gun. Yeah, it's got a lot of recoil, but I just put frozen peas on my hand afterwards. Give me a break. What else do you need to carry? People think they're going to carry a knife for self-defense. This happens to be a Three Sisters Forge Beast. It's a great blade. It's sharp as hell. It's durable as hell. It's lightweight. Lightweight yet extremely robust. I don't know how well that's showing up, but you can see the thickness of that blade. Titanium scales, handles, frame lock. Beautiful. People think they're going to use a knife for self-defense. All I have to say is, ha! You got to be shitting me, right? That's a last line of defense. If you're on the ground, and by the way, you know, knife fighting's no joke. Okay, knife within 21 feet, 7 yards, more deadly than a handgun. Okay, I can close that distance and put that thing in your chest quicker than most people can aim and fire a firearm because they don't practice. Okay. Knife fighting, by the way, most people that fight with knives wind up in two places: the boneyard or in jail. You might want to keep that in mind. Now, the other thing people like to carry is a light. Not a bad idea, but do you need a light this big? This is a fantastic light. I use it for shooting IDPA competitions. This is a Phoenix TK11. It's big, it's super bright. It's just a great light. It's nice. I think it's a real bargain if you compare it to the some of the other makers that are also outstanding. You should learn how to, if you're going to carry a light, learn how to handle a firearm with it. This is the grip between your two fingers, so now I can handle magazines with my index finger and thumb. This thing is big and bulky. If you think you're going to carry it and have it handy, you carry more shit with you than I do, that's for sure. I think for most people you need a flashlight like this. This is a Phoenix LD01. If you lose your keys, you need a quick source of light. You're in the subway, it breaks down, it gets dark. This thing will light your way for you. It's got 3 different levels of activity: high, medium, and low. It's plenty bright enough for what you will need it for, and you could use it in a tactical situation, I guess, but it doesn't have the push button. Again, you know, people tend to think that they're going into some combat scenario, but they always seem to miss the fact that you don't have the training to be in that combat scenario. So best thing you can do is avoid it. Get away. So I wanted to clear the air about some issues related to carry. The other thing you need with this setup, whether you carry this, is you need a good holster. Usually if it's concealed carry, and I think open carry is just stupid. I'll just say that. It's stupid. Why would you want to open carry even if you could? Other than to be macho. Because it gives away your number one surprise, right? Your number one advantage is surprise. The other guy doesn't know you have a gun, right? So you can say, you know, stop, no, back off, right? He doesn't know you have a gun, so that you have that tactical advantage over them. And you know, the other thing is, if you got to carry a gun loaded on you in your house, move. Here's a good holster for inside the waistband carry. It's a Crossbreed. There's other people have copied this. There's lots of good ones. I like these a lot. It looks big and wide, but that actually distributes the weight over these 2 clips. Goes inside your pants. This goes over the outside of your pants and your belt. The firearm sits in here, so it's actually would be set up like so, right, for right-handed carry, and it's easily accessible, right? You can just reach down and grab it, draw it. It's not too harsh on your firearm. It's super comfortable. There's also, you can get a different cut, which is a combat cut, where this portion would be cut out. So that just allows you a little bit better access to the weapon, but it's not as comfortable. Okay, you got to think about it. You're going to be wearing this for a long time. Your chances of ever drawing it and using it in your lifetime are pretty much zero, thank God. I wouldn't recommend some cheap ass holsters that are out there. I just wouldn't recommend them. You got to spend, you know, people go out and spend $5, $6, $7, $800, $3,000 on a handgun. God bless you. But then they want to spend $10 on a holster. How does that make any sense? Really? So here's an Elite holster. It's a piece of shit. It's got one big clip, but it'll work. You know, it's not very comfortable to move around a lot. And the other thing is, if you're wearing this underneath your belt, there's nothing to retain this. So if you ever had a reholster, it's a problem. However, in reality, it's not a problem because you're not going to draw your weapon in public. If you draw your weapon, the last thing you're going to need to worry about is reholstering. Okay, this will work. It's a piece of crap. It doesn't retain the firearm very well. But I actually like it for just using it as kind of a pad to protect the firearm during storage. Okay, so it doesn't get clink up against other stuff. If you're going to spend some big bucks on a nice firearm, you got to just accept the fact that you're going to have to spend some money on a holster. Magazines, you also need to spend some money on magazines. Here's a couple of magazines for the Glock 26. They're loaded up in this case with, I think I have Remington Sabres and Speer Gold Dots. I like them a lot. These are just two examples. You need a bunch of magazines for your firearms. Semi-autos magazines are kind of the bane of your existence. You will always need magazines. Sometimes they're super pricey. I recommend you have at least 3 magazines. At least 3. And that you run your ammunition through them and make sure they all work. Ideally, you want to have as many as you can afford, 6 or so. If you're into any kind of shooting competition, the minimum you need, for instance, for IDPA is 3. 3 magazines, 1 in the gun, 2 on your belt. Okay, or 2 in your pocket. That's what you need. And they need to be maintained. You need to make sure they're working right, and they're clean, and that they work right in your firearm. In other words, the follower will push up far enough to allow you to have slide lock. It won't jam. It'll feed right. The follower won't tilt. That kind of stuff. Most of the major manufacturers make a good product that you can rely on. Glock makes a really nice magazine. SIG does some aftermarket magazines like Wilson Combats or ActMag or MechGar. I like the Kimber Pro Tac mags myself. They're real nice. You know, all good options. The take-home message today is if you're going to conceal carry, you better know what you're doing, and you better seriously be ready to invest the time, the money, and the energy, and the mindset. Don't get caught up in the hype and the nonsense that you just see constantly of people talking about concealed carry, and they don't really know anything about it. Be careful, too. This is a major commitment. When you're carrying a firearm on you, you should feel the burden of carrying that firearm. Okay? You're carrying a deadly weapon with you, and that means you need to change what your lifestyle is. So if you're the type that likes to go to a bar, you have to know that I can't go to the bar with my firearm and get drunk. Okay? You need to know that, and you need to understand that very, very carefully. It's a heavy responsibility, I think. I really do. And I'm all for it. I think it should be protected in the Second Amendment. But I think people people need to understand, yes, it's a right, but with any right goes responsibilities. And you as a gun owner represent gun ownership, and you are on the front line of representing what that Second Amendment means. And that means you need to be responsible, you need to be respectful of other people's opinions, and not be confrontational. And there's plenty of people that don't like the idea of people having guns. Keep your mouth shut about having a gun on you. Nobody should know that you're carrying except you. Period. Period. Seriously. You're carrying a firearm, keep your mouth shut. Make sure you have your documents with you, like your concealed carry permit, and that you've done your part to be able to exercise that right.